morning and welcome to this week's Market Carver. Hope you've had an outstanding week. As of Monday afternoon after the allocation meeting, at least the volatility has slowed. It's not gone. Rarely would you see volatility disappear that quickly. It's clearly one of the things that we're watching. We're ending the month of August, heading into September tomorrow. Obviously making some changes inside of the portfolios. You've seen us grab some opportunities, get away from some of the weaker spots. We will continue to move in that direction. As I put out in the email last week, every bit of this revolves around the dollar, the strength of the greenback, if you will, China, and of course what's going on in the oil sector. Those stories will continue to be amongst us for a long time. And remember, they are very much intertwined. So let's go ahead and begin with China first of all. I thought this was a very interesting chart. What you're seeing is how much China makes up of the worldwide metals at the top left, far left side. The aluminum, the tin, the copper, that's their consumption, if you will, the ability to drive those metals. And as China has slowed, sure enough, you've seen commodity prices tumble, materials being one of the weaker sectors inside of the S&P 500. On the far end of the scale, the least amount that's used right now is actually what we would call the consumables. It's the food, the corn, the grains, the things of that nature. An interesting play then obviously would be to short aluminum and buy corn if you are one of the commodities that China uses the most. We can't do that obviously, but it is an interesting conversation when you look at that global economy. Goldman Sachs came out with a report saying, hey, the China story is overdone. Only about 2% of the revenues actually come from exports to China, or 2% rather. I'm not totally on that bandwagon for the record, but there's going to be a lot of conversation over China. I did like that chart. Speaking of economies, the U.S. GDP was revised up to 3.7 in growth. Much better than what first came out. So again, something else for the Federal Reserve to chew upon and ponder. This morning a big deal came out for a couple different reasons. One, Phillips 66, not that long a publicly traded company. Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha, actually announced this morning a little better than a 10% ownership of Phillips 66. Now, this is interesting to the markets in one hand. People are saying perhaps this is marking the end of the bear market in oil. Oil, as you know, is way down in value, even though it had a great week. It was up 9% one day last week. The gas consumption, even though price is as low as it is, kind of shows that this is a supply issue as opposed to a demand. The supply of gasoline, the usage, if you will, demand-wise, has been almost as great as the top as it was in 2007. So this Phillips deal and Berkshire Hathaway is Warren Buffett saying, hey, this is the end of the oil glut. On the other hand, the other reason why it matters to me is Warren Buffett owned Phillips 66, sold his shares in the company to buy a business outside of Phillips 66, in other words, a company that they own, traded shares for the entity, if you will, and now has decided to buy back in. And that kind of goes to one of our philosophies here at the Financial Enhancement Group. I like to say I married my wife, I date my stocks. That's exactly what we saw here. You can break up with a date and go back out with them later. Buffett got rid of his Phillips 66 stock and went back in and decided to repurchase the position at a later date at ostensibly a better price. Now for one fun thing to end the market Carver this week. Apparently if you hit the lottery in Illinois, even if they say you win $250,000, maybe you don't. Maybe you just get an IOU. Yes, a young family hit the lottery. I don't play the lottery, but I can only imagine if somebody gave me a ticket and said it's worth $250 grand, and instead I got a check for $25,000 and an IOU. Apparently the budget's not been passed. The comptroller can only write checks up to 25 grand, and you have to live with what you've got. That brings an end to this week's Market Carver. We talk a lot about some of this stuff on the radio show, so if you're out and about on Saturday morning, don't forget to catch us on WQME 9 to 10 a.m., 10 to 11 on Sunday, Shine 99. Thursday afternoon, 4 to 5 p.m. On Wilo. Have an outstanding Labor Day weekend. Enjoy your time. God bless. We will see you again soon.